My name is April Mauldin. My partner, Dawn Lee, and I completed a 2-week unit on second grade math, incorporating literacy into a second grade math unit. Our unit overview says that the intent of this 2-week unit is to incorporate all forms of literacy, reading, writing, listening, and speaking, into a second grade math unit on money. We will accomplish this through the use of reading picture books, vocabulary development, and incorporating writing and sharing into our math lessons. In simple terms, the students should be able to identify money, understand how to add and subtract it, have a basic understanding of its uses, and be able to communicate appropriately about it. Our goals and standards include the TEKS 2.5, which says, Number and Operations. The student applies mathematical process standards to determine the value of coins in order to solve monetary transactions. The student is expected to A, determine the value of a collection of coins up to $1, and B, use the cent symbol, dollar sign, and the decimal point to name the value of a collection of coins. Along with our lesson, we really wanted to incorporate literacy through the use of picture books, because I think that's very appropriate at many levels, but especially in a younger elementary classroom. We chose 3 different books that we thought worked well with our unit. The first one is Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday, by Judith Viorst. This book is about a little boy named Alexander who was given $1, and it goes through the process of him feeling rich as he has his dollar, and then all the different ways that he chooses to spend his dollar, the pieces of gum that he buys, the bets that he makes with his friends, and in the end, he finds he's left with only bus tokens. This book we were going to use to introduce the concepts of money, to introduce our unit, and then in the end we were going to come back to this same book and look at the way that he spent his money and actually incorporate addition and subtraction to see how his money actually was spent. We also chose to use the book Follow the Money. This is a really interesting book by Laureen Leedy. This book is about, it follows a quarter named George from its beginnings at the U.S. Mint to on its trip to the bank. From the bank, the quarter goes to a grocery store where it's given as change, and then it's used to buy several different items, a balloon and some different things, and then finally at the end of the day, George, the quarter, ends up back in the bank and makes the comment, "Wow, I wonder what tomorrow will be like." This is another book that I think is very interesting to the students because many of them, I don't think, realize where money comes from to begin with, and I think it's just fascinating, really kind of helps to engage them and get them interested in this concept of money, where our money comes from, and all the different ways that we use our money. The final book that we chose to use is My Rows and Piles of Coins by Tolowa M. Malel. This is a story about a little boy from Tanzania who desires to save up money to buy a red and blue bicycle. And it talks about the work that he does in order to buy the money and the excitement as he sees his collection of coins grow, and then his disappointment when he realizes he still doesn't have enough. And I think it kind of emphasizes the importance of a work ethic and being willing to work hard for things that we want, and then also still includes those math skills related to money and how our money grows through addition and all of that. The first lesson was a lesson that I wrote just introducing the unit or introducing the concept of money. For this lesson, I would begin by reading Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday by Judith Viorst to the students. We would go through the book, look at the pictures, discuss the different elements, go back and maybe see which students could identify the coins that were mentioned in the book by the pictures, see what they already know in that way. And then kind of close that lesson with a journal writing exercise for the students where they would express how they would spend a dollar, if they were given a dollar as Alexander was, what are the things that they would prioritize or consider most important to buy with that money? The second lesson is just a vocabulary lesson to identify and define the important vocabulary for this unit. We chose words that we felt like would be essential for their understanding to be successful in this unit. Words like penny, coin, dime, a nickel, quarter, dollar bill, those things that they would be using a lot in that unit. For that one, we also mentioned doing like coin rubbings of the coin, kind of an art type project, but where also they could label them and they would be able to look back in their journal and see the front and the back of the different coins, and so they could go back and review if they weren't already familiar with the different coins that we would be using. Also, as part of this lesson, we were going to introduce the students to some sentence starters or some sentence frames. I especially think this is helpful for struggling learners or students that are just less confident, maybe those that are shy and don't like to speak in front of the class, to encourage them to speak and to share by giving them kind of a frame in which to speak about money. One example would be to say, I bought a blank for blank cents, or altogether I spent however many dollars and I got however much change, and just teaching them, giving them kind of a framework. That's also helpful for English language learners who are may have learned the vocabulary necessary for the lesson, but there are other words incorporated in discussing money that they might be less familiar with, and I think it just helps to build their confidence and make them feel more comfortable. The third lesson deals with just identifying money. And we thought this would be a good place to kind of just get a baseline, figure out where our students already are. So to start this lesson, we found a pre-test that you can find at exchange.smarttech.com. And you can just go on there and search for the Unit 2 second grade math money pretest, and it just had a quick little pretest you could do even using the smartboard. This website is for smartboard activities, but you could just do a quick little assessment, pre-assessment, to see where your students already are, find out what they already know. I also think this would be helpful as you begin to prepare or plan your groups for the group work included in our unit. It's an easy way for you to figure out which students are stronger in this concept and which ones will need more help, and I think that can be helpful in planning your groups. Also, we have a money song. Music, I think, is important to incorporate in any lesson. It's a good way to help students memorize and to learn things. So we have a money song that we would teach the students and also have them to copy into their journal. This would be something that we could sing on a daily basis and a way to engage the students, to bring up our math lesson, to introduce, or just from time to time. But with it being in their math journal, it would also be something that they could go back and review on their own. Then we would sit around the whiteboard or sit in a circle, and we would look at different coins and just do some compare and contrast. How are they alike? How are they different? Look at the presidents that are on the different coins, the different buildings that are on the coins, talk about the value of them, what they are made out of, and just help them to kind of connect to that and find ways to identify the different coins. Then we could finish that lesson making a bubble map to brainstorm all the differences that we have found in the different coins. In this lesson, we would engage the students by the reading of the book, My Rows and Piles of Coins by Toloa M. Malel. After reading, we could introduce or bring up the topic, what do you think we're going to learn about today? And just take a few minutes to brainstorm different things that or different concepts that are introduced through that story. Then we would pass out bags of coins to each of the students. Each bag has one coin in it. The students have 2 to 3 minutes to explore the coins, to look at them, look at the color, remembering what we talked about the day before, and just kind of investigate their coin. They should, then we would again talk about what pennies look like, and have them look in their baggie and see if they could find a penny. Then we would talk about the attributes specifically of a penny. Um, this lesson also includes a website where you can download a slip book where the students could cut and paste a picture of the front of the penny and then the back of the penny. And then this lesson would continue with other coins that we would also be talking about. You could do this all in one day, or you could split it in 2 days and do the penny and the nickel the first day and dime and quarter the second, depending on what your time allows for. The next lesson, also written by Don Lee, involves identifying money. This lesson also includes the use of a picture book. That's the picture book, Follow That Money, which, as I've told you before, follows the quarter, George the quarter, from its creation through this first day. But in this lesson, we would review again the characteristics or attributes of different coins by giving the students a sorting map or a coin sorting map and giving them the opportunity to sort their coins according to the map. And then we would take it to the next level and incorporate or add to that lesson the monetary values of those coins and begin also teaching that. In the end, we would want the students to be able to identify the coins and write them using dollar signs, cent signs, and decimal points correctly. The next lesson would go in further into counting money, and it starts with a story that you can find on the internet. I've heard of it from several different people. We are crediting it to a teacher's webpage that we found, but the story is called Harry Money Family, and it goes like this. Once upon a time, in a land far away, lived the Harry Money family. This was a special band of monkeys who helped the local tribes count their money. There was 5 Hare Papa, 2 Hare Mama, 1 Hare Brother, and no Hare Twins. When 5 Hare Papa was near a quarter, his 5 hairs stuck straight up from his head as if they were frightened, each standing up like a soldier in honor of the 5 nickels and a quarter. When a dime was in the neighborhood, the 2 hairs on the 2 Hare Mama would curl like a coil in honor of the 2 nickels on a dime. The 1 hair on 1 Hare Brother danced and swayed in the wind when a lone nickel rolled by. The no-hair twins had lost all of their precious hairs upon entering this world and couldn't wait to be like their brother with 1 beautiful, playful hair. However, the no-hair twins screamed with joy whenever a penny or just 1 cent zoomed by. And this is a way of helping students to learn the value of different coins. I've also heard of this called eyelash math, another way to look at it. But in this lesson, you teach the students to identify coins based on the hair that you draw on the coins. And this is an example of what that would look like. And you can see in this that the quarter has, that you have hair representing different values of that coin. It's also useful in helping students to learn to count by 5s, which can be very important and useful when teaching money. We have also included instructions to a game called Money War, much like the card game that you can play entitled War. In this game, the students would have colored index cards with different coins on them that before starting the game, they would add the coins on the card and come up with the value for that card. Then the cards would be divided equally among 2 students, and the students would flip cards over like you do in War. The card that has the higher value, that student would be the card that won, and they would win both of those cards. The only exception is when the 2 cards that are laid down are of equal value, then the first student to yell Money War would get the cards. That's how you would win. So it's very similar to the game War, but it incorporates the use of money, and again, another way to have them practice counting money. And then finally, for a concluding lesson for our unit, we could go back to the book, Alexander, Who Used to Be Rich Last Sunday, and the students could work with a partner and model the different coins in their the story that add up to $1. And then once they've done that, then they could practice subtracting the amount for each of the things that Alexander spent his dollar on and see how quickly he brought that dollar back down to 0, because in the end he's left with only bus tokens. In order to assess this unit, we would have both informal and formal assessments. For informal assessments, starting with the pre-test to kind of get a baseline, figure out what our students knew before we started teaching. That data would be used, as I've said before, to place students in groups and to help make sure that the groups have both strong students and struggling students in them so that effective peer tutoring can take place. This will also help us identify the students that will likely need more help from the beginning. Also, we would have informal assessments through just monitoring through their group assessments, taking opportunities to check for understanding. You could do quick exit tickets where the students, on their way out of class or at the end of class, you show a value and they have to quickly write it down of the coins or different things like that to check their understanding. Also, many of our activities would be completed, like writing assignments and things like that would be completed in their journal. So in their journal checks, you would also have an opportunity to check for their understanding. Finally, we would have a formal assessment at the end of the unit, which would be just a test to evaluate their mastery of these teeth. In order to differentiate this, we've thought of several different things. First of all, scaffolding for the ELL students and also for struggling learners could be accomplished through peer tutoring, through extra small group and individual tutorials and reteaching, and the use of sentence starters and sentence frames to help them in communicating about money. We would be using throughout the lesson a lot of manipulatives. We have opportunities where they would do rubbings of the coins and they would have this information in their journals that they could go back and refer to. Also, the use of the eyelash money or the hairy money is a more concrete way of teaching a very abstract skill, and that's a strategy that students that need it could use longer than those that are ready to move beyond that. There's different ways that this lesson could be extended for your advanced learners or your GT students, but one way that I think would be interesting is to give them an additional assignment of researching where the coins came from. How did we determine which presidents and which buildings would be on each coin? And those students could have some time to research and to learn, extend their learning in that way about more the history of our money, where did it come from, and then they could create a book that would give facts, and then they could share that at the end of the unit with students and share what they had learned about why is Abraham Lincoln on the penny, and so on. We also have included at the end of our unit several pages of resources. All of the things we mentioned are listed there. We have the money sorting mat that you could use. We have the hairy money story. We have the coin, a little map for the coin war and several different things. And then our last page is just a works cited page where we have cited the resources that we use, the books, and different things. Many of these activities and things also came from the Envision Math series, which Dawn Lee uses with her second grade students currently. And so we also have information for you about that lesson. I hope you enjoy our lesson. I hope that there are things from this lesson that you will find useful and helpful in your classroom.